You want to just introduce yourself and what you do, and
Yeah, man. So, name's Gene Martin. Own Martin Legacy Holdings. Um, that's the company that we buy under, and we invest in real estate all around CSRA, both sides of the river, South Carolina and Georgia. We flip about. So last year, we're trying to make this higher this year, but last year we flipped about a dozen properties, fully from start to finish, and then we also bought another couple dozen that we kept as either rentals or sold them off just as is. So we do about 50 properties a year that we close on. Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of business, but a lot of sellers that we're talking to.
it's about one every single week. That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah, we're on. Last year we hit 48 exactly, so it's 4 months. So, and we're trying to get to 60 this year is the goal, and we're actually flipping more as far as full on retail ready houses. So do a lot of that. Then we hold Airbnbs is our other big strategy. We own five of them over by the Augusta National. So that's the route we're taking for. So flips are for money now, and then Airbnbs are for the long term
So do you
kind of
rent the
stuff.
Airbnbs out, and then April free, just get out for the Masters, or is it?
So actually, we do them more true Airbnb style, like smaller, like 2-3 days at a time, kind of weekend stays a lot. But we have converted a lot of them to these companies, like insurance companies and things like that, are big companies that are coming in for cyber and stuff. So we are having a lot more 2 week to like 30-day stays now.
Okay.
But yeah, we keep the 2 weeks around April. That week before Masters and the week of Masters, that's always, well, not blocked off, but it's just we ahead of time make sure those prices are indicative of it being Masters time. So I mean, hey, if somebody, we actually had somebody last year that had to be here for work during Masters time. So it was a dude that's company had to pay like $8,000 for like 5 days because we had the pricing set for Masters people. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, so my background is in customer service, so I love talking to people. It's what got me into real estate in the first place, and then I just kind of conveyed that into starting to flip the houses and keep some Airbnbs.
Gotcha. So how long have you been in real estate?
So started at the very beginning of 2018. Started getting myself acclimated with it at the end of 2017. So I'm almost at 7 years into it. Either solo by myself completely or with a business partner. I've been about 4 years not working for anybody else. So
That's awesome. You get to be
yeah,
your own boss.
it's nice. It is nice. I mean, it's the extra stress, but it's the extra freedom too.
That's right.
So it's a nice trade off, no doubt about it.
And that's one of the things that drew me into real estate as well, was
Yeah,
just being your own boss. Your broker's just keeping you out of jail, and just helping, guiding you in that direction.
yeah, absolutely.
But what was your first real estate investment, and how did it turn out? What did you learn from it as well?
So yeah, so the first one was so my first flip was actually after I worked for a company, so I didn't do any of my own individual investing then. And then when I moved here, I partnered with a guy. I still technically worked for him. I considered myself an employee there. But after I was there about 6 months, he was like, "Hey man, if you want to pick one off to do your first flip, you can do that." And I did. I grabbed one, and me and a friend from Charleston flipped it together. A lot of learning lessons as far as the contractors you use and having the right people in your camp. But we actually did well on the first one. First one, I mean, nothing, nothing crazy to write home about by any stretch. At the end of the day, I think we made like $22,000 and then split it. So I made a little over $10,000 a piece. But I mean, for a first flip and all the learning lessons, it was a great first one.
Can't complain.
Yeah,
$11,000.
yeah, man. It was. I mean, 3 months, 3.5 months of work, but and it was a blessing. It was good.
So, how long does it typically take you from buying a property to invest in, and then meeting at the closing table again to turn it over to the?
Yeah, so we always run our numbers based off it being 6 months from the day we close until the day it closes on the back end to a retail buyer, but it usually gets a lot closer to about 4 months. We're trying to renovate these properties in the like 6 to 8 week window, and then so we have them back on the market within about 2 months, and then just however long it takes to go under contract from there. So it usually ends up closing somewhere in the 3 to 4 month window. Yeah. So nothing too crazy. I mean, it's not super fast, but it's also not super slow either.
So, for someone who has never bought an investment property
Mm-hmm.
and they're interested in building generational wealth in real estate, how would you suggest that they start thinking about it and going about getting started in real estate investing?
It's really tough. The beginning piece is 100% the hardest piece, and it's going to be different for different people depending on do they have a good W-2 job, like that kind of stuff. We'll take that one for example. Doctor, lawyer, whatever. You have good income, but you don't have time to go do stuff. I think in those instances, finding either investors or even a really good investor-friendly agent is a good start, because you do have that income without the time, so you can just go do a conventional 20% or 25% down investment loan. I would suggest finding a good investor-friendly agent, and then finding a good local bank that you can do those with. So that's if you have the extra income. If you have more time than income, then it's really about finding the people that are finding these deals that are super discounted. And you have to, I mean, it's all about networking at that point. Yeah, man, you got to find the right person that can find you the deal. So that's already a step, and then you have to find the right contractors to be able to get it to the finish line for you. And that just works so much better for someone that has more time than money, because if you buy it off market distressed, then you can build your own equity into it, and then you can refinance it at the end of the day. So that's kind of the best way there, in my opinion.
Um, yeah. So, what resources were useful to you that you would recommend to others who are getting into real estate investing?
So full on resource wise, like just tactical, you can find a lot of, I mean, especially these days with social media and stuff, you can find the right places to go. There's some good, I think you should read some of the fundamental books, and then just different YouTube channels and stuff. Man, it's really about just business acumen and then learning real estate a little bit, but it's really more mindset than anything, in my opinion. And then resources as far as the intangible piece is you got to meet people. You got to just continue to meet the right people. So how it worked well for me was meeting people like where I'm at now, to be honest. It's meeting the people that are already doing it, the people that are already flipping houses, that are already keeping rentals. Instead of trying to I like meeting the more mentor, basically. Like I was very blessed and lucky that I was going to masterminds with the company I first worked for, from the very beginning, and being around other people that are doing more than you and better than you and have already done it is incredibly invaluable. Yeah, just so finding that person is where it's at.
And that was one of the things when I got into real estate. I was like, I got to find mentors to close that knowledge gap
Yep.
as quick as I can.
Yes.
Because I don't know what I don't know, and there is a lot of stuff I don't know.
I mean, I'm almost 7 years in, and I still learn stuff every week. Like, absolutely. So, I mean, that in my opinion. I mean, I think to give yourself a little tiny knowledge base, you should do some reading and some online learning. But you know you're going to take your biggest steps by getting a mentor, or at least hanging around people that are doing it already. I mean, that can be a good first step.
And it's like we're at the point now where you can pretty much find everything for free on
Yeah.
YouTube, online, on social media.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of just the mindset of like, I actually have to go out there and do it. Like,
Nope.
There's nothing stopping me from going out and doing this now.
Yeah.
I know what I need to do. I just have to go out and do it.
Yep. Absolutely. And you just got to pick your route. I mean, like I said, I mean, there's going to be different phases. Do you have more time or more money? More money, I think you just stick to your day job and you find rental properties, or maybe even find some flips here and there. And, pay for that access basically because you have the capital. But if you just have all that time, I mean, uh, doing agent stuff is good, and then the other side is doing the wholesale side of things. That's a good way to try to build some capital and try to start finding some of those discounted deals if you're just getting started and you don't have any money.
That was one of my thought processes when I was getting into being an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Was, you know, I don't have the upfront capital right now to start investing.
Yep.
But I can close that knowledge gap, learn investing by working with investors.
Yep.
And then once I build that capital reserve to go on and become an investor later.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of one of my thought processes, just getting into
Absolutely, man. And I think those are the two directions to go when you don't have capital and you have the time. Is it's either, like I said, going into the wholesale side of things and trying to meet as many investors as possible, try to bring them value and try to help find them deals, or it's going the agent route where you can still be making money in the real estate space while you're learning it and learning from investors along the way. So if you don't already have a job that you enjoy, then doing the agent route actually makes a lot of sense because you start getting exposed to it while you're still making money doing your agent activities.
Yep. And I mean, to be an agent, it doesn't have to be your full-time job either.
No, it doesn't.
Like, you could stick with something steady, do real estate on the side, because real estate, especially when you're first starting out, it's going to be pretty spotty. I'm not going to lie.
It can. Oh, yeah.
Especially just getting the word out there, going from someone who's brand new to someone who is, everyone knows about.
Absolutely.
It's very daunting just to get out there and be like, I'm not guaranteed a paycheck at the end of the month.
You sure are not. Yeah. I mean, that was one of my biggest blessings when I moved here. Is I moved here, and like I said, I consider myself that I worked for him. But me and Trey worked together, but we had a partnership on the off market stuff where I got 30% of it. So it was one of the biggest blessings that I was learning all of the investing side, learning the contracting side, learning how to go to the attorney's office while I was getting paid. So I was getting paid and learning at the same time. Wasn't a crazy amount of money by any stretch of the imagination, but it paid all my bills while I made that knowledge gap shrink.
So. And it's like your first deal may not be a ton of money, like especially when I got into real estate, I was hoping, I could close a $1 million home, have a $33,000 commission or something like that. But you got to work your way up and don't get discouraged by having a smaller return in the beginning.
Yep, absolutely. It's really about networking, building your base, building your sphere in the beginning. No doubt about it. And like I said, I mean, I had that knowledge of the off-market stuff, but I didn't have the capital. So Trey brought the capital, the contacts, and all of that stuff. So I was taking 30% instead of, if I would have had the capital and that knowledge base already, I could have done it myself, technically. Right. So, I mean, at the beginning, you have to start in the right place to just get yourself off the ground. And I think Hormozy talks about it a lot. Alex Hormozy talks about it a ton. With in your 20s, especially, it's like you should be just trying to learn, like not earn. Like,
that's your time to screw up and learn your lessons.
Yeah, exactly. Screw up, learn your lessons. You're better off taking. I'm just going to make up a number here, but like you're better off taking $50,000 your first year or two and being around the right people to gain your knowledge than jumping ship and making $100,000 a year, but like not having any mentors, not having any help. And then the next thing you know, 10 years down the road, you're still only making that $100,000. Whereas if you would have stuck with the $50,000 place, you might have quadrupled that. So,
and it's like just building that foundation to be able to scale just by being around people who are knowledgeable. And one thing for me in like working a commission job, like I've only ever worked commission jobs.
Yep.
And so that was like some of my friends are like, dude, are you not scared of just like not having a paycheck? And I'm like, well, I have to go out there and do something to get paid.
That's right.
And that I feel like that for someone who's nervous about getting into it, that's probably one of the biggest barriers.
100%.
But well, how would you recommend someone who is new to investing? Um, Maybe they are in a new environment, new city, a new place. How would they get acquainted with and get familiar and network with investors who are more established? Maybe
Hmm.
they, know how to find those off-market deals, but they don't have the upfront capital. How would you recommend that they go and find a good network?
So there are different investor groups on Facebook and stuff. Um, they're light, unfortunately, because a lot of your big players just don't mess around with it. You do have the RIA meetings, which is the Real Estate Investor Association meetings. Those are once a month here. And there's some good people there. Absolutely are. I mean, like I said, some of your really big guys aren't showing up to those kind of things. They just aren't. But you can still slowly make your way to them by starting there, because there's still people doing plenty of deals at that meeting, like tons. And then I know Chris Oyanuga. He also does the Bigger Pockets meetup that's here once a month too. Um, Obviously, this is just Augusta specific talking here, but every city has those things. Every city has like Bigger Pockets meetups or RIA groups or different things like that. You can just search online or search on Facebook, and you can find those meetups. That's 100% the best place to start with networking around your city, and then hopefully you connect with a person or two. Those people can connect you with the next set of people.
Right. And it's definitely nerve wracking. I know me being in my 20s, going to this group of real estate investors who are way more established than me,
Right.
especially in the community, financially, even maturity wise. Like,
Yeah.
it's daunting and it's definitely nerve wracking to go and meet with these guys. Who it's almost like you're walking into some place that you feel like you don't belong.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there is that feeling there, and yeah, it's interesting. Man, I had it to the extremes, because I started with that wholesale company in Charleston, and like I said, they were big on education, which was amazing. And they sent me to some masterminds in place of one of the owners a couple times, and I was in the room with people that are doing like millions and millions of dollars in revenue a year, and I had barely like even helped with one deal in the company at that point. Like not even my own investment deal, just like helped the company get a deal. And I'm sitting around people that are doing 100 deals a year. And I'm just like, why am I here? I don't think I belong here. So it's really getting uncomfortable. You have to challenge yourself to get uncomfortable and just meet people and chat. And I mean, it's the same with anything else in life, to be honest, whether it's meeting a relationship partner, whether it's meeting, you know, anybody or anything. Like, you have to get uncomfortable to get out there and be okay with, you are going to run across some a-holes every once in a while that like just don't want to give you the time of day because you're in your 20s and just getting started. But I mean, those people are, there's no point in trying to change those people. You just got to, the more hands you shake and the more people you say hi to, the more chance you have of making yourself known.
And that was something similar to what I learned in real estate. Was um, as an agent, you think, oh man, they're going to want to go and work with someone who's doing it 20 years. But the thing is, if you're a brand new agent, the best thing that you have going for you is your work ethic and your follow up, like, and your communication. If you are on point with your communication, even if you don't have any clients, but you have a database and you're following up with people every single day, not spammy, not salesy, just genuinely, hey, just wanted to check in with you and see how everything's going, just personable.
Absolutely.
That is infinitely better than being the 20-year established agent in your area.
I can 100% agree with that. Of course, those super established people are going to get the trickle of just deals that are just always going to come to them because they're established. But if it's somebody that's looking for a good agent to work with, I mean, a lot of the times that's not the right answer for them, because you're not going to get one-on-one time with that actual agent because they have so much else going on. They usually have teams that are actually handling everything. It's way more personable and way more it's nicer going with a small, either a new person or somebody with a very small base. It's actually a lot more personable and cool. And
They've got time for you.
they have time for you. They do. They absolutely do. And you hit on it. Follow up is key. I mean, it's follow up is key in the investment world too. That's where 90% of our deals come from us just continuing to say hi to people. And like you said, it's the same exact way. Like we do not just spam people. Like we don't like to market that way. I only have an online presence for my marketing, so we don't just like text or call people. But anybody that has already shown interest that we've already talked to, just following up, seeing how they're doing. Like not even asking about the house. Like just, hey, Miss Smith, how have you been? Like, how's everything going with the kids? Like those kind of follow ups and just making sure you're just being genuine and genuinely trying to help people.
And I think that Larry Kendall really talks about that.
Yeah.
Ninja Selling. It's a book I've been one of my mentors recommended that I read, and just there were so many instances in that book where he just follows up with someone genuinely. It's just like, hey, blah 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 blah. What are you up to these days? And they get on the topic. Oh, I'm a real estate agent now. And they're like, oh, you're a real estate agent? I've been looking to buy my house or sell my house or something.
Yep.
And it just comes off way more genuine than, hey, how are you going? Hey, how's it going? You want to looking to buy or sell in the next 6 months or something like that? So
Absolutely. Yep. It's just, yeah, it's just, I'm a very logical person, so it's hard for me to even wrap my head around the other side of it. But it literally at the end of the day is just being a good human being
exactly.
that wants to be nice to other people. Like that's all it comes down to. And it'll help you on the retail sales side of real estate. It'll help you on the investing side of real estate. It'll help you even if you go all the way to the other end of just being like a lender in big deals or real estate. Like, I mean, it's just bringing value to people and just being a good human being.
That'll help you with anything. It doesn't have to be real estate related.
Yeah, it does not have to be real estate related.
Honestly, I think if you are in your 20s and you're younger, you don't know what you want to do. If you could just work on getting those people skills, and honestly, like having a personality goes a long way too.
Absolutely.
When I'm doing my social media videos, that's the one thing my social media mentor just drills into us is it doesn't matter how good the edit is. It doesn't matter if you're funny or not. It's just like if you have a personality, people are attracted to people with personalities and not the stick in the mud who has been, just walking through a house and this is the granite countertop. This is the master bedroom. Just having a personality and a little flair to it goes a long way.
And I think, and that's what helped me was I was like I said, I was in customer service, so I was in restaurants. I was a server and bartender for 15 years, ever since I was allowed to get a job. And it's just those soft people skills that really matter. So, I mean, I would suggest that to anybody in their 20s that doesn't already have a set path. Of course, if you already want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a CPA or a teacher, like you have your set career path. That's great. But if you don't have a set career path, you absolutely should get into some type of job that is going to teach you those people's skills. Whether you go get your license and become an agent, whether you just get into some kind of sales job or a customer service job. I mean, hands down, you should be doing something in the customer service sales realm if you don't already have a direct path for your future.
And I know my family is probably going to be watching this, and they're going to definitely knock on me for saying this thing, but I have definitely messed up in my 20s so far already. Had a lot of screw ups here and there. It's definitely a winding, zigzaggy path, but just going like I dropped out of school when I was in my second semester of college. Went into IT, did not enjoy it at all, and then I decided I want to do something like just to get good people skills because I was a very antisocial, socially anxious person.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I had two options. I was like, I'm going to either get into sales or I'm just going to go and work a people job where I have to interact with people every single day, all day. So it was either like sales, bartender, or barista. And so I was like, I'm going sales. And so I went sales, never looked back, and then got into real estate right after that. So
And the reason I would definitely suggest that to people is, like you said, it gives you that underlying skill. Best case scenario, you just love sales, and you can. It's some of the best paying jobs in the world. So I mean, you love sales and you just make a killing. Worst case scenario is you didn't like it, but you still gained the skills and you still gained those people skills.
Exactly. I feel like all the loudest cars in
Oh
Augusta
yeah.
are driving by right now.
Oh yeah, I don't know, something about this road and then right on Riverwatch that people just like to rev their engines going right in those two areas.
Yep.
So, you know,
But okay. So, can someone start investing in a home that they plan to live in, or should they just start thinking about a separate property when it comes to real estate investment?
yeah. So that one's going to be a little nuanced for sure. My blanket answer would be, I think it's a, if you do want to treat it, especially if you're looking at this more as like your investment for future, and you have your careers already set, then I think it's a fantastic idea to look at your personal home as an investment. So when you buy your next home, you keep that one as a rental property, and then you can continue to build on that. So I think if you're already set in career and you want to just do real estate investing for the long term wealth and as a part time thing, then yes, I think you should pay attention to that with your personal home, because you can lock in those homeowner rates and all of that. So you have really low rates, and then you live there for those couple years, and then can move out, and you still can keep that rate. Like you've done the things you're supposed to do as far as it being a homeowner occupied house. Um, Taxes will go up, but that's it. So that's a good route to go. Other options become, I mean, technically, if after you've lived there for a couple of years, you also wouldn't pay capital gains tax. So I'd still say that you use that as your plan though. And worst case, like let's say you had crazy appreciation in your house and you got to move out of it and you realize you can make a good bit of money selling it, then just make sure you have your eyes on the investment property you want to buy before you were to sell that house. It can become, if you don't have a laid out plan, it can become really hard to, and that's why I would suggest trying to keep it as a rental property, because let's say you go to move out of it and then you sell it and realize, oh, we just put $100,000 in our pocket from the appreciation of this house. It's hard not to, if you don't have your blinders on and have your set plan, it's hard not to go spend that money elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'll just pay off this debt, or oh, we'll just take this vacation, and next thing you know, next thing you know, you don't have the money to do the investment property. Now, if you are thinking about getting into real estate more full time wise, then I think you should be actively looking for investment properties while you live in your person.
How can someone identify a good investment opportunity?
I'm going to go high level on this one because there's an incredible amount of ways to look at it, because it's going to depend on your exit strategy. Are you trying to flip the house? Are you trying to hold a long-term rental? Or are you trying to hold like an Airbnb type property? So it's going to be all over the place there. More than anything, it's a math equation. It really is on a high level view. So you need to look at what you can buy the house for and all the costs associated, what you have to put into the house to get it rent ready, and then look at when you refinance it what those costs are going to be. So you really just need to make sure that the rent is going to cover not only your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Like there's that underlying escrowed mortgage that you got to make sure you cover, but remembering that there's maintenance and vacancy and things of that sort. So making sure you're baking those kind of numbers in there. I see people make that mistake at the beginning of being like, oh, well, it'll be a $1,250 mortgage and it'll rent for $1,500 a month. And I'm like, and they think automatically $250 in cash flow. I'm like, that's not the case. Like you gotta take into consideration maintenance things and vacancies and stuff like that. You have to remember, if you, and again, big career, big income, then that's fine to take smaller cash flow because you're doing it for long-term wealth. and the pay down and the tax benefits and all of those things. You don't need to make as much money. You got to realize that more than anything, you just have to realize that you can't be spending that money if you're going to. The tighter that cash flow number is, the more you have to remember that just needs to go into a reserve account or your maintenance and stuff. But those are the biggest things to look at. It's just trying to run the numbers. Agents can usually help with that as far as letting you know what it's worth on the back end and what it can rent for. That helps a ton. Yeah, I mean, and just it's looking at and walking as many houses as possible.
You know?
So
That's what another investor told me was,
oh man,
walk through thresholds. Just keep on, just look at as many houses as you can, get a feeling for how much stuff costs, how much you can flip something for. Just walk through houses, look at houses, go to open houses, just look at houses.
absolutely. And I was told the same thing from the beginning, which is what annoyed me with that first company I worked for because we did it virtually. We were in Charleston, but we were doing stuff in Columbia and Augusta area and stuff. So I wasn't getting through a lot of houses. When I moved here, that was the biggest reason, is to be boots on the ground. I started walking houses like crazy. Like I said earlier, I mean, we do about 50 deals a year. And I probably, if I had to guess, this is a guess, and this is going to be on the low end. I walk a minimum of 5 houses a week. Like minimum. I usually walk closer to 10. So I walk 300 or 400 houses a year to be able to buy 50. So it's, I mean, the more houses you walk, the more you do, the more opportunity there is there. And yeah, so that's the best suggestion there.
Gotcha. And finally, where can people find you, learn about you, what you do, your work?
Yeah, so I just do everything under a personal name. And that's actually a big Q4 goal, is start putting more stuff out there, which is part of this as well. Yeah, man. So I do stories a good bit, which has been good, but I really want to start doing posts more often, showing people what I'm doing. And I'm keeping it under my personal name because I want it to be a mix of both. I don't want it to just be house, flip, Airbnb. It's going to be like I'm on vacation, or I did this, or I came to this coffee shop today, and then as well as houses. But it's just under Gene Martin on Facebook, just personal name, and then Instagram is the Investor Gene, all one word. So yeah, those are 2 places you can follow along. As of now, I'm doing stories, so you'll see some cool houses and some fun things we walk across. Some really ugly and gross houses, and then some of the pretty ones that we finish up. But like I said, as we go into Q4, if you start following me, you'll start seeing a lot more posts on exactly what we're doing and how we're transforming these houses.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, Gene, I thank you for your time.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate the interview, man.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable, and I hope everybody out there that's watching it, I hope y'all got something from it. And yeah, thank y'all for watching.
Yep. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Sweet.